Hey guys, it's Martin. I probably don't look too good right now. I'm currently suffering a cold. I'm a bit sick right now. I think it's a cold anyway. I'm aching all over and I've got the sniffles. So if I sound gross and if I sneeze on you at any point during the video, I do apologize in advance. Um, I wanted to record a few while I had some spare time while I'm just recovering, so that I can I have a in case I am too sick to do it on Monday, or in case I'm busy, I managed to have one available so it can go up on Monday. Because the last thing I want to do is get sick and then not be able to do this next week. Because this is really important to me, and I know it's important to a lot of you guys. So I wanted to keep on it. I'm wrapped up warm in my bathrobe, and I just recorded a video yesterday, one of my new Mark remarks, and I felt myself getting sick while doing it, and I think if I'd known I was going to get sick, I would have delayed recording, because it probably exacerbated things, unfortunately. If I'd known that was going to happen, I would have definitely held off. But if you do watch the Mark remark, you can watch the new episode that's probably up by the time you see this, and it's the one from the 23rd and the 26th, and my voice is a lot more scratchy than usual because my throat is basically closing up on me, and I'm slowly becoming one of the unclean. But yeah, I just wanted to give you guys an update at the beginning of this video. I just came back from, what convention did I? Comic-Con in Alabama. I always have to think for a minute what convention I just did. Comic-Con in Alabama, which was actually a really good experience for me. I had a good time overall. My friends at Team 4-Star were there, and it's always good to see them. I don't see them nearly as much as I'd like to. I actually got to spend more time with them than I usually do at cons, because I had a little extra free time, and I had some really nice talks with them. I actually roomed with Marsico, my good friend Marsico, and my good friend Julie. We shared a room. I don't usually share with people, but I figured it was for the best, given my current state. But yeah, they were really nice roommates, and we watched High School Musical 2. I don't know why I picked that one. That was my choice. Yeah, don't room with me ever. But yeah, I got to sit and talk to the Team 4-Star guys, and talking to Lanny Pator. He's been a huge inspiration to me for the last 10 years, basically, and we had a nice one-on-one conversation that lasted a good half an hour, I'd say, which I just don't get to do very often, and I really appreciated it, and it was a really nice bonding moment. Sorry for all the sniffling. But yeah, that went off without a hitch. I didn't have any issues. I keep forgetting to bring my anxiety meds. I bring my Wellbutrin and my Prozac, but I keep forgetting. Actually, I think no, I bring those, but I always forget to bring my anxiety meds, and I always freak out when I realize that. But it hasn't been a problem so far. I have to remember to bring them next time. But yeah, I this week has been good, aside from the sick thing, and I hope you've been doing okay. But without further ado, here's something that makes me happy. It's funny that I choose this subject on a day where I actually can't use my voice very well, but I guess it makes you appreciate it more. You when you can't do something, or you aren't able to see somebody, you appreciate the moments where you are able to a lot more. You don't know what you've got till it's gone, as the song says. Is it a song? I don't know, but I guess I first started doing voices when I was 11 years old. And you'll notice I didn't call this voice acting, I called it doing voices, which is because while I do enjoy voice acting and I consider myself a voice actor, I enjoy just doing voices more. I don't know what it is. As a comedian and as a person, I enjoy that. I don't necessarily always do it, as a performance. Sometimes I'm just doing it because I like going, oh, it's me, I've got a silly voice. I first started doing it regularly at my school when I was 11 years old. I would do impressions of the teachers, because I went to a school. I went to a school called Manchester Grammar School, and some of you guys in England will probably know what that school is because it's a relatively well-known one. I went to Manchester Grammar, and a lot of the teachers there, because it was an old school. It's old school. And I went there, and a lot of the teachers have been there for donkey's years. That's a phrase I picked up from my mum. They'd been there for a long time. Donkey's years. I don't know what donkeys have to do with it, but ask her. But they'd been there for a long time, and as a result, they picked up a lot of eccentric personality qualities and quirks, and, you know, they had funny, very effete British voices. And I had a Latin teacher called Mr. Griffin, and I loved Latin. Latin was like one of my favorite subjects, and I was good at it, I believe. And I know a lot of people don't study Latin, but I got a lot out of that. I honestly, if I'll talk about it in a later video, but I actually dropped out of school. I don't know if I've mentioned it before, but I dropped out of school, and I think if I'd stayed in, I probably would have pursued Latin as one of my main courses. Main course, is that right? I don't know. That sounds like that's a meal. That's what that is. But yeah, he was Mr. Griffin, and he had like a hearing aid, and he had a limp, and he was essentially a cartoon character. It was like something you'd read in a book, you know, and you know, like something from a Charles Dickens novel. And we had him as a teacher, and we had lots of other teachers who had very interesting personalities, and I'm sure a lot of teachers have that, but it was just exaggerated to a extreme in this school. And I would do impressions of them to make the other students laugh, and I guess, you know, if I'm being honest, to make myself laugh as well. You know, I can't pretend that it was entirely selfless. I was, you know, I got a kick out of it, and I did these impressions, and I didn't just do impressions of the teachers. I would do impressions of, you know, people from TV shows. Like, I remember a lot of people gathering around me in a classroom one time to see me do an impression of Jarvis Cocker from Pulp. And I don't know how many people out there will know Pulp, but that was like my favorite band when I was a young adolescent. Pulp and Blur, back in England, they were like my favorites. And I did impressions of Beavis and Butthead. And a lot of you who have watched Yu-Gi-Oh! Abridged probably won't be too surprised by that. One of the reasons that two of the characters in that show are Beavis and Butthead is because I'd had a lot of practice doing that voice, or those voices, and as a result, it was just like, I was really struggling to think of what to do with the Rex and Weevil characters, and when I thought to myself, you know what, I just have these in my back pocket, I can just pull them out and use it, and it fits these guys. I was just, you know, it was an easy thing for me to do. So I'd been doing voices for a long time, and the thing that I really like about it is that it always gets an immediate and big reaction from people. You know, if people hear a voice from you on a regular basis that is your normal speaking voice, and then they hear something completely different come out of you, you know, that surprises them, and it shocks them, and it amuses them. Like, it's a positive thing. It's like, whoa, what, when did this happen? How did this happen? You know, and I like that a lot. I like chasing that feeling of surprising somebody with a voice that I can do. And obviously at this point, I've used so many of them in my videos that it's hard to surprise people these days. Like, occasionally I'll come up with something different. But 9 times out of 10, people will be like, oh, that's just the Yami Yugi voice. Like, I do the Mark Remark series, as I mentioned earlier in this video, and I'm just doing a very enunciated British accent. I'm just doing a refined British voice. But people are like, oh, it's Frieza doing wrestling reviews. And some people even say it's Yami Yugi, and I'm not really doing those voices, but people can hear qualities of those voices. In fact, weirdly enough, when I first debuted as Frieza with Dragon Ball Z Abridged, everyone said he's just doing his Marek voice. And, you know, I guess a little bit I can understand people saying that, but I honestly very specifically tried not to do that. And Frieza, I can't do the voice very well right now, but Frieza's more up here, and very polite, and very refined, and Marek is up here. It's loud for the microphone, I'm sorry about that. Marek is up here. But I mean, I guess 2 high-pitched voices coming from the same guy, they're liable to sound very similar. I have to edit this one a lot. I'm sniffling all over the place, so if I leave any in, I do apologize. But yeah, I really love doing voices, not just impressions. I love doing voices, and I actually, my good friend Takahata 101, also from Team 4 Star, he was doing a panel. The first time I encountered it was at Anime Evolution in Canada. In fact, the only two times I've ever seen him do it have been in Canada. And he did it different ways, and it was called voice duels. And he would have people come up and do voices, and he would have them read from scripts, and people really got into it, and the audience really reacted to it really strongly. And I've done panels before where the audience has been like, it's been like pulling teeth trying to get a reaction out of them, but voice duels, on both occasions that he did it, always got a big, loud, enthusiastic response, and I really loved that about it. I loved seeing people get so into it. So I asked him if I could adopt that panel and do my own spin on it, which really isn't my own spin, it's just slightly different. And I've taken it to different cons, and I've done the voice duels thing, and I host them, but I let the audience sort of pick who wins, and I give prizes out, and there have been some remarkable, revelations from just picking random people up and putting them on stage and asking them to do a silly voice. I had one girl just this past weekend who did this amazing Toad impression from Super Mario. It was like bang on. I was shocked. Like on stage, I was like, how are you doing that? It was really cool. And I think a lot of people will agree. I know Lanny from Team 4 Star, he one of the reasons he became so enthusiastic about voice acting is because he would play video games and do the characters' voices while playing them. Like, he played the Dragon Ball Z games, and he would do the Vegeta voice while beating up Goku, and obviously that is what came in handy for him later on in life. But I've always loved doing voices. I don't know what it is. I aside from the fact that I like entertaining people, that's something I live for. I guess I kind of like hiding my real voice because it's so boring. And I know there's going to be people being like, no, it's not, but it is. It's a very boring, very bland voice. It's a British accent, but it's not a particularly good one. There are a lot like Colin Firth and Hugh Grant. That's a good British accent. I have this very neutral. It could come from anywhere. Some people have said it doesn't even sound British. So I like being able to hide that, I guess. And doing silly voices, like, it definitely is a nice break from this, the boring monotone thing that I've got going on, which is even worse right now because I've got a bloody cold. But yeah, I really love doing voices, and it seems like something that would be a very silly pursuit to have. And a lot of people, like, when I was younger, I would always look at it and be like, well, this isn't something I'm going to do for the rest of my life. And I'm sure a lot of other people would have told me that if I had thought that it was going to be something that I would do for the rest of my life. But I am doing it, and I'm getting a lot out of it, not just, from, fame or whatever. I'm getting enjoyment, and I'm getting to meet people, and I'm getting to see them also take part in this thing that I randomly started by accident, the whole abridged thing. So it's been extremely rewarding on a lot of fronts. So I guess what ultimately I'm saying is with this is, if you ever have something that you love to do, and it seems silly and trivial, and it doesn't seem like you'd ever be able to either make a living off of it, or make a name off of it, or do it for a significant portion of your life and have it be relevant, don't think of it that way. If you have something that you're passionate about, and if you have something that you're proud of, show it off, as long as it's not hurting anybody, show it off to the world, and put yourself out there, and just have fun with it, don't be ashamed of anything that you personally feel you have going for you. Even if it's something that, you feel like would be laughed at or ridiculed, it doesn't matter, doesn't matter. Just do it. Because one day you might find that it has some amazing benefits, and you might even find that you get to do it in front of other people that do it, and that's the best feeling, when you find a group of people who share the same interest and share the passion for something that you thought that you never would meet anybody else who had the same thing going for them. And if you kept that inside, then you'd never know that. And it would be a very lonely experience, unfortunately. And that thing that you have would maybe not die, but it would grow rusty and very quiet. So make it loud. Shout it to the rooftops. I'm trying to be poetic, but I'm very sick, so I do apologize. Anyway, yeah, I love doing voices. Going from one kind of sickness to another kind of sickness, I guess this isn't as extreme as a lot of the other things I like to talk about, but it's something that definitely affects me, and it affects a lot of people. When you're a long distance from home, or even if you're a short distance from home, if you're any kind of distance from where you feel safe and where you feel loved and where your family is, and where the place is you call home, it's pretty awful sometimes. It isn't always awful, because if you have friends with you, if you're even away with family, you can get very homesick. You can miss the comforts of your bedroom and your TV and your fireplace or whatever you have waiting for you back there that's familiar. And I guess personally, from my experience, I fly away from home all the time, but specifically, I moved from England to America, to the west coast of America, which is almost one of the furthest places from England you can be. And that was difficult. That was really difficult. And it's been difficult to not think about that. It's hard to be in a place surrounded by people and still kind of feel lonely, That's a feeling I get a lot. And it's hard to not have my family out here. I know I have my wife and I have her family, and that's my new family. And my old family still exists, and I can communicate with them, but it's hard. It really is, and it can be a long time between visits when I do get to see them. I've been fortunate enough that I've been able to see them at least once a year since leaving, but that's still few and far between. I really would give anything to have all the people I love be in the one place, and I'm sure there are some of you out there who have similar feelings, like you've either moved somewhere for work and all the people that are important to you are somewhere completely different. And that can become extremely... It can weigh on you. It can weigh on you a lot. And unfortunately, it adds to a lot of the other weight that people are carrying around. Obviously, a lot of people are familiar with the idea of being homesick. Everyone's felt it at some point, but for some people, it can be a long, arduous process that wears them down and, gradually over time weakens their resolve to do anything. But I guess what I would say about that, and it's one of the things I had to come to terms with very early on in my marriage, and in the last 10 years, just because I've been all over the place. Your home is always going to be there. Your home will always be waiting for you at the end of the day. And that's, even if the home that you have waiting for you is temporary, that just means that eventually you'll get back to your permanent home. And even if your home isn't ideal, and if your home is somewhere that you want to leave, which is not good, that's an awful feeling, and I'm sorry if you feel that way. Even if that's the case, there is a home waiting for you, and there are people you can talk to find that place. If you're in a bad home situation, I do encourage you to call somebody, to talk, to speak to somebody. It's very important that you communicate these things to get out of that situation and find a home for you that is going to make you feel wanted and comfortable and loved. But for those of you who just miss their home because it's a very nice place to be, time is a real jerk, because while, like I said, I'm away from home for a year, ultimately when I'm there, it feels like no time has passed. And that's annoying because I wish that was just the case sometimes. But you can ride it out. You can last the necessary days, months, years needed to finally get you back there and make you feel like you did before, or like you've always wanted to. It's try not to lose sight of the fact that that feeling is just something that is representative of the fact that you've had something very positive in your life and that you want to get back to it. And that means you can have that again. And if you're in a situation where that's difficult or even seems impossible, you have to know that the fact that you had it means you can have it again. If you lost it and it feels like it's gone completely, if it seems like it's gone completely and you can't get back to it, that's not true. You can, one way or another, you can find your way back home, even if it's not in the same location it was before. I guess I've gone on a bit of a weird path with this, but in a literal sense, being homesick is upsetting, it's disheartening, and it can make you really sad sometimes, and it makes me really sad sometimes. But like I said, it's because you remember how happy you were when you were there, or it's because you're looking forward to it. And it just sucks to be in this point of time right now when you're not there. And eventually you'll get there. Eventually you will find that you'll wind up there one way or another. And I hope that you get to be there longer than I tend to stay at my home back in England. I'm usually there for a couple of days when I visit. But the great thing is that even though I'm only there a couple of days, I see a lot of old faces, and I see a lot of old friends, and I see my parents, and I see my family, and that's enough to put me on. You know? It's enough to put me on for another year, another 365 days of not having that. If I'm able to be halfway across the world from what I considered to be home, and I found this new place which is incredible, it's my new home, I believe that one way or another you can get that back, and you won't feel the way you're feeling right now, you know, in a lot of different senses. You know, if I guess you can feel homesick for just being the person you used to be, or the person you want to be, and you can do that. It's definitely within your reach, and I believe in you, and I hope you get there, because you can, you will. That was a bit of a vague one, and I do apologize. I feel like I went all around the houses. I was talking about being homesick, and then I went on to a weird tangent. It's probably because I'm sick. My mind was wandering, and I do apologize, but I think I got across what I was trying to convey. Basically, you know, if you're away from the place you feel you should be or you need to be, it's just a matter of time before you get back there, and just stick with it, you know, stick it out until you can, you know, get to point B and point C, and finally at the point you need to be at. But yeah, I'm probably going to record a few more of these while I'm sick, so I apologize if I'm phlegmy again in the next one. But I'm probably going to be busy the next few days. Actually, speaking of doing voices, I should have mentioned this earlier. I have a voice session tomorrow. I'm recording for a project in a studio. I've been doing a lot of those while I'm out here in LA. I can't talk about it. I can't say what it is, but I'm hoping my cold won't be a problem when I'm doing it. If it is, then darn. But I'll, you know, next time. I'm going to be busy, so I wanted to record a few to make sure that, you know, I'm up to speed with you guys and that you aren't waiting weeks for the next one. So until next time, thank you for listening, and take care of yourself, and I hope you're doing all right. If you wish to reach me, you can find me at Yu-Gi-Oh! TAS on Twitter, and for all my other content, please visit team4star.com/LittleKuriboh. I hope you have a great day.